that was the first time I ever learned about a strategy for building a network marketing business online, being able to recruit people online, being able to do sales online. I was hooked. It just introduced me to a whole new paradigm on how to build a network marketing business. I felt like the first time since I joined network marketing that I was being spoken to like an adult. These are the skill sets you got to learn. It was the first time I ever heard about treating your network marketing business as part of a profession.
We are Attraction Marketing. Welcome. What is up, my friends? JT DeBolt here with you today for the Attraction Marketing Show. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, whatever time it is for you, no matter where you might be tuning in from on the big blue marble. Thank you for joining us here. We are excited to finally launch, after long thought, long planning, and finally just getting after it, the Attraction Marketing Show. Now, what is this? This is basically a resource for you as a network marketer to come and learn about not just the industry itself and not just about the tactical stuff, but the behind the scenes, and really get to know some of the movers, the shakers, the influencers, the people who are actually making the network marketing industry the great industry that it is. The hope here is that you can find something in each and every single episode that you can take away, implement, put into action in your business and your life. We here at Attraction Marketing are committed not just to creating awesome network marketers and great entrepreneurs, but actually strong people, strong leaders. And so you're going to find a lot of stuff here. Hopefully there's at least one thing you can take away from each of our episodes. And my encouragement to you is to do just that, is to be very intentional about when you come here and you receive this information. Is there something here that can meet you where you're at right now, right here in your business, that whether you're brand new or whether you're a seasoned vet, whether you've yet to make your first sale or you're about to make your next million? We are here to help you grow as not just a network marketer and not just an entrepreneur, but as a human being. And I'm very excited to be able to bring our very first interview to you, somebody who is a legend in the industry, somebody who, quite frankly, is making huge moves and helping create a whole movement inside the network marketing industry. Somebody that, well, we'll get into a little bit of his backstory in just a moment, but I want to bring him out here. He is one of the founders and the chief executive officer for attractionmarketing.com, one of our amazing leaders here, a dear friend of mine, a brother from another mother. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the stage, Mr. Fernando Ceballos. Ferny, come on out, man. I want to bring you out here
What's up, brother?
and have a convo. How are you?
I'm good. Just waiting for all the applause to die down. I didn't know we were broadcasting
I
live with
know.
an audience like this.
Huge, like thousands, perhaps
Yeah, yeah.
millions.
You can.
We'll never
They're
know.
so big you can hear them.
So huge, you can hear the audience over the microphone. In all seriousness, man, I'm really excited and honored that we get to do this. You and I chat quite a bit. We've had conversations even leading up to this, talking about some of the stuff we're going to be discussing today. And the reason for me being pumped personally is that, just you and I have had the opportunity to work together going on almost 10 years, at least 9 years now. And a lot of cool things have happened, a lot of challenges we've met inside the industry, inside the company, just overall. So what I love about this is that we now finally get to share some of those insights, some of those like almost like private conversations that we have, either just you and I, or also with our leadership team here at the Traction Marketing, and share that with the world, because there's a lot of folks right now who I think will benefit massively from this industry. And I could say that today, but it can also be timeless, like 5-10 years from now, if they're watching this episode. So that's what's exciting for me. I kind of want to get into a little bit of your backstory before we jump into this, because you're somebody who has a ton of experience, not just skill set, but dude, you have walked the walk. You have tread the path for a very long time. When did you actually come into the industry? Like what year? When was that for you?
It was in 2005. I got conned into a meeting, and I was pretty pissed
Wow.
that I got conned into it. Uh, but yeah, that's what happened. My background is engineering, so I have a degree from MIT in electrical engineering and computer science. After graduating from MIT, I had a great time at MIT, but it was freaking hard. We can get into a conversation as to what makes engineers, scientists, fill in the blank, better out of coming out of a school like MIT. But uh, I went to work in the aerospace industry, and within 2 days of arriving at my job, a defense contractor, I worked on top secret space programs for the government and some other things, that I may or may not be able to talk about. But within, 2 years of 2 days of doing that, I knew I did not wanna do that for the rest of my life. It was just very unfulfilling. I'm not a morning person, so I hate getting up. On top of that, getting up to sit in traffic for an hour and a half too, and then another hour and a half out of work, probably more because it's LA traffic 'cause I live in Los Angeles. And so, there was nothing about that situation that I loved. I didn't have control over what projects I worked on. I was told what to do. A lot of it, because it's government oriented, was paperwork, not actual engineering. So it's like, so all around just unfulfilling. And I spent, 5 years trying to figure out what to do, working in aerospace in my 20s. And I actually went back to grad school because I didn't know what else to do. You know, when you just grow up traditionally in terms of how do you create success in the traditional model, go to school, get a good education, get a good job. So I thought, well, if I want to change my job or change what I do, I need to go back to school. And so that's what I did. I went to back to USC grad school, or I went to USC locally, for grad school. And it was about a year into that, a year and a half into that, uh, I met somebody that ultimately, through this is how dated I am, through AOL Instant Messenger prospected me and invited me to a meeting with other engineers. So this is what he said. So I'm thinking, well, he wants me to collaborate. We worked on assignments together. Maybe he sees how smart I am or whatever. And I'm thinking it's a collaboration for a new company that they're trying to ideate and they're looking for some talent, to be at the ground floor of something. And I went to the meeting, and there were definitely engineers there. There was engineers from Caltech, engineers from Harvey Mudd, some of the top engineering schools in California, and they started drawing circles on a board. It wasn't even a
Oh
whiteboard.
god.
That's not, they didn't have those yet. It was the big giant post-its and drawing with the marker. And I
Yeah,
was like,
yeah.
Um,
Yeah. You knew
I
it right
I
away.
yeah, I was tricked into a meeting. I wanted nothing to do with it. I hated that it basically I was kinda cornered. I'm very polite, very nice, so I didn't wanna just, like, storm out, so I kinda just sat through it. And I definitely asked the question that I already knew the answer to. Is this one of those pyramid things? Like, I just wanted to say
Yeah.
it. And after the meeting, I left, and I totally ghosted my potential sponsor that invited me. I didn't return his calls, nothing for 2 weeks. But here's the thing, like, for some reason, something kept gnawing at me. This was a decision of my own free will. Something was gnawing at me, like, well, going back to school is just gonna get you further entrenched in whatever you're doing, which you don't love. And so I was like, if there's even like a morsel of truth of what they're telling me about being able to build a business, create financial freedom, and not have to have a job, then okay, let's do it. And it was more like I didn't make a full on commitment. I just said, okay, let's give it a try. But part of something ingrained deeply in me is like once I start something, I have to finish it. And we can talk about where that comes from later. But that's just
Mhm.
the trait in me. I don't quit things easily. And so once I got started, I took it very seriously, and I grew pretty fast doing it the traditional way: home parties, home meetings, one-on-one meetings at Starbucks, cold prospecting. I did all of it. I hated all of it. I didn't. There was nothing about network marketing that I liked, except potentially the outcome. So I was willing to be coachable and do the things I was essentially instructed to do. What I found out very quickly, because I'm thinking of this is a business, and I come from another profession where I had to learn skill sets and be trained on how to do that profession effectively. So what wasn't making sense is I wasn't really being taught anything. I was being told what to do, but not how to do it. And so if it was like cold calling or sales or whatever, I would have been all in terms of like, give me the nuts and bolts of how to, hone in these skills. I just wasn't taught any of that. In fact, there was a just complete denial that what I was involved in was any type of sales. And it's not selling, it's sharing. I heard that over and over again. Just, share it with more people, bring more people to meetings. That's all you got to do, and we're gonna get rich. That was the
Yeah, yeah.
response. And funnily, the guy who was telling me this, he's a higher pin in that company. He was a freaking doctor. Like he's a OBG, and
Oh, like a
he's a
medical
medical
doctor.
doctor, and he's in this
Yeah.
deal, but he's like not training at all. It's like you want to go to medical school and like tell people what to do, but not how to do it. Like that's catastrophic.
Yeah.
And so anyway, but I just tried to figure out the best I could. I was somewhat successful. 17. I recruited about 17 people into a legacy company within 9 months. But ultimately, no one wanted to do what I was willing to do. No one was as coachable as I was. Uh, but it's not really a coachability thing. I hated everything I was doing. So I don't blame the other people for not wanting to do all
Yeah.
the sleazy things I was doing. So it wasn't like it wasn't just there was things that I was being asked to do that was uncomfortable. I was being asked to do things that were deceptive, that
Oh,
kind
yeah.
of weren't transparent with the prospects that I was, prospecting essentially, whether they'd be family members, whether they be strangers. It was just built on deception, hiding as much information, getting people to a meeting, with as minimal information as possible, uh, with them not really knowing what they're walking into. It was that type of thing. So, uh, something. I mean, obviously,
Do you think that was just for your company that you were in, or you think that was, like, the trend in the industry
well, at
as
the
a
time,
whole?
I didn't really know or understand the rest of the industry, but today, many moons later, and with all the people that I've worked with and trained in this profession, that's very common. In fact,
Mhm.
I've seen a lot sleazier practices, worse things that people do in other companies than even what I was doing and being asked to do in that
Yeah.
company. So I think it's just across the board a problem in the profession. And
Mhm.
yeah, so I pretty much got
Yeah,
burned out on that.
you said profession, I think that's interesting. I wanna come back to that. When you were in did is that how you approached it? Because as an engineer, it's a lot about preparation. Obviously, you had a ton of schooling. Did you come into it thinking, "I'm gonna make a profession out of this," or was it more like, "I don't know, man, I'll just see how this thing works out?" Was it forefront in your mind to think of it as a profession then, back then?
No, no, because it was never presented as a profession. It was presented as definitely an alternative, but it was positioned as an easy alternative. Um, no skills required. You don't have to become anything different than what you are. Which is they're saying that at the same time they're doing a lot of personal development stuff. So like they're trying to do work with you to transform for you to transform as a person while telling you don't have to be any different, which is a contradiction.
Yeah.
And obviously, anyone that started any new profession, any new skill set, that when you do that, you're going to become a different person as a result of that experience. So yeah, so I eventually just burned out on that stuff. All my team quit, and I wanted to give up. I wanted to throw in the towel, but like I said, I don't quit things easily. And once I start something, I got to finish it. So I was still searching for some way, and I don't know how I stumbled upon this online. I don't remember. I think it was through an ad where I was just searching around. I was literally searching. I was searching all this negative stuff about my company, about the profession, about MLM, and I saw an ad. I clicked on it, and I found a a website called Magnetic Sponsoring. And Magnetic Sponsoring was a company that was originally founded by Mike Dillard. Later on, his mentor, Tim Irway, partnered up with him in that company. And that was the first time I ever learned about a strategy for building a network marketing business online, being able to recruit people online, being able to do sales online. And I was hooked. I opted in. I immediately bought the book that was being sold, written by Mike Dillard, Magnetic Sponsoring, and it just introduced me to a whole new paradigm on how to build a network marketing business. But I felt like the first time in since I joined network marketing that I was being spoken to like an adult. Like these are the
Mhm.
skill sets you got to learn. It was the first time I ever heard about treating your network marketing business as part of a profession. You got to be a professional
Mhm.
network marketer. So no one else had ever mentioned that to me. I think Eric Worre's credited with referring to network marketing as a profession, but this was before Eric Worre with Mike Dillard
Yeah.
talking about it as becoming a professional network marketer. And that made sense to me. I was like, yeah, I got to learn skill sets. Of course that makes sense. Like I come from a profession where I had to train to be able to do that job. And also the thing I loved about attraction marketing, what he was essentially coined attraction marketing. So, Mike Dillard coined the term attraction marketing, and that's where it came from. Now I'm sure that term is used to describe other forms of marketing and other professions, but specifically for
Mhm.
what he was teaching, he was the first to coin the attraction marketing in the network marketing space, and it's in his book. And I love the systemic way of approaching building your business. There was a process. You had inputs, like the input being, find traffic, sources of traffic that would feed into your system, your attraction marketing system, and out the other end, either pops out customers, appointments, or new recruits. And again, that made sense to me. He broke down here, the idea of metrics, tracking your metrics through that sales pipeline, and I was like, this is very almost scientific in its approach. And at that point is when I knew I could do this. I knew like
Yeah.
network marketing was going to be my future, and this is the way I was going to build it.
Hey, my friends, hope you're enjoying the show. I wanted to take a quick minute and invite you to something very cool. If you are tired of following up with dead leads, if you're tired of all the spammy, scammy conversations online, if you're tired of chasing down friends, family, and people you work with just to get somebody interested in your business, and you would actually like to talk to highly qualified people who have a genuine interest in doing business with you, then we have our all digital 5-day boot camp that teaches you all the things that we do, and it will help you get 3 to 7 new customers each and every single week. That's our personal guarantee to you. If you want to take advantage of that, click the link directly below this, or you can go to attractionmarketing.com/YouTube. Now, let's get you back to the show. So when you kind of a moment ago alluded to, you're like, I've had it, I'm considering quitting. How long had you been in network marketing when you hit that point where you're like, I don't think I want to do this anymore? Before you found magnetic sponsoring, about how long was that
I
journey?
mean, it was pretty close towards the end, but when everything kind of falls apart, where you work really hard to get to a certain point in your business, and then it kind of just contracts really fast.
Yeah.
Uh,
Was it like a year,
no, it
2 years?
was 9 months. It was
Yeah. See, people like oftentimes I think miss on the length of time. They're like, "Oh, dude, I'm gonna be great at this in like 2 months, 90 days. I'll be making a ton of money," because that's what they're told. And maybe less so these days because I think marketing has, I don't want to say jaded people, but people are a little bit more savvy now. They're not going to fall for the overnight success. You still hear that message, you still see it pumped, but it's like funny how you lasted 9 months is a long time. And I don't think people understand like 9 months. I mean, that's how long it takes to gestate a human being, but 9 months to hang in when you're brand new and you're like, dude, I'm not learning anything. I'm not making any money. This is frustrating. So there's some grit there. I just kind of wanted to point that out. And then you said you found magnetic sponsoring, and that started to kind of turn the table for you a little bit. What did you notice like when you first saw magnetic sponsoring? You saw that on like an online ad.
I believe it
Did I
was a
understand
Google
that?
ad.
Google
Yeah.
ad back in the day, man.
Google
That's how we made our first
sorry,
money.
Google AdWords to be exact.
Yeah, exactly. So I remember running Google AdWords. Like I got smacked. I got the Google slap. Long story for another day. Did you guys like when you found that? What was the thing that kind of made you go, "Hey, I need to take a look at this before I just pack it up and move on and not do network marketing more"? Was there something specific that attracted your attention where you're like, "Yeah, I think this is. I need to look at this before I pack it in"?
Oh, I mean, I was so desperate for an alternative, and I was thinking about one, my background engineering, computer science. Like, there's got to be a way to do this online. Is probably a thought that entered my mind many times. How do I create more? Like, how do I create more leverage? How do I become more efficient? These are like engineering terms, and that's what was promised. In fact, the headline on that page is or the subheadline said, "This will work for you even if you're the last guy still stuck in," and then it said my company name. And
Oh.
I was like, I felt like the last guy stuck in my company. Uh, and and so I was like, "All right, let's do this." So I just opted in, immediately bought the book. If there was more to buy, I probably would have bought it. I ended up later on, there was a launch for a more comprehensive course that was co-authored by Mike Dillard, Tim Irway, and another friend that they had at the time. And that was a $600 course, and I bought it right away. And I remember it was CDs, so audio CDs, and also a thick book, or a thick folder, a binder. It wasn't really a book. That was kind of like the written version of it. And I remember just like listening to those audios over and over again while I'm driving to and from work, while I'm at work sometimes. I carried the binder always with me, studying the material. And I became obsessed with attraction marketing, with this new way of building. Within 6 weeks, I was generating leads online. I was attracting new prospects. I started making about $1,000 a month, using this strategy. And I was like, it was working. And at the time, it was before social media. So the primary way of attracting people would be ads. So you showed me how to run ads. This was the early days of online advertising. So the ads were very cheap, and I was converting, and I was profitable, and it just, we're off to the races. Now the thing is, at the time, there was no there was no mentorship program, there was no class I could join. There's like and so that was definitely lacking. It was just courses and books. And I tried to just consume as much as I could, but I fell into another trap, and I became an information junkie. I went outside of what was being taught inside magnetic sponsoring by my mentors, and I just started searching for anything that was similar. So that's where I entered the internet marketing world, or the digital marketing world, where there was people selling courses on how to do Google AdWords, how to grow on YouTube, how to use MySpace, and all these different ways of building automated online systems for lead generation, for converting people, for converting customers, for getting appointments booked. But I was consuming a lot of information, and I spent a year and a half buying up a lot of information and consuming it. I put it all on credit cards. I was way overspending. At that point, I think I spent $90,000 in various different programs. I was getting deep in debt, but I just didn't care, because I was just so obsessed with seeking the knowledge and learning as much as I could. But also, I think I was overlearning because I wasn't really implementing as much as I could. I I was still making $1,000 a month from what I initially did, and so that was steady, but I didn't grow past that. And
Mhm.
I was pretty frustrated. And I remember I went to a conference that had nothing to do with network marketing, but there was a lot of digital marketers there. I actually met Russell Brunson there for the first time,
Oh,
and
wow.
it was not conference is a loose term. It was more like a meeting inside a small hotel room. And
Of
and
course, as
Russell
they
was one
always
of the
are.
trainers. That's when he was training on how he created his potato gun course, something like that.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
And I remember having a conversation with somebody else who was a six-figure earner in the online space, and I realized in the conversation that I knew way more than this guy. I was like coaching him, giving him advice. And I remember having a dinner with somebody else at that conference, and he challenged me. The guy basically said, "You seem to know a lot about this stuff. Why aren't you, you know, successful at this?" I was like,
Mhm,
That's a really confronting but very good question." And
mhm,
I was like, what's missing? Like, I should be crushing it right now, and I'm not. What's going on?" And a few months later, I ended up I was the whole time I'm working with a partner, my sponsor in my original company, and we're doing this together. We're learning all this stuff together. And there was a webinar that went live. This webinar was in late 2007, and it was by somebody who ended up becoming a mentor. His name is John Keel, and he was a top earner in network marketing and digital marketing. And so he's a great guy to learn from because he understands both worlds, both the internet marketing world and also the network marketing world. And he was actually a big pin in my company. And
Mhm.
so he had a webinar, and basically on that webinar, he offered an opportunity to work directly with him over the course of a year as part of a mentorship program. And as part of that mentorship program, we would have weekly, not weekly, a monthly check-in. So we'd have a call with him for an hour every single month. There was 3 or 4 workshops throughout the year that we would fly to attend. At that workshop, he gave us this big binder that we would be working from for our program, and also what was included was to spend a 1 day with him at his home office, and have him consult directly with us on everything we need. And so that was a huge leap forward for me. I didn't realize how big of it was gonna be at the time, but I was craving for structure. I was craving for mentoring. I was craving for somebody to be able to look over my shoulder and kind of tell me whether I'm on the right track or not, or if I'm off, tell me that as well. 'Cause I realized that the reason I wasn't making progress because I was afraid. I was afraid of making a mistake. I was afraid of doing it wrong. I'm very, uh I grew up very risk adverse, and so that
Mm.
was feeding into the business. And as when that offer came through for that mentorship program, the first thing of its kind, I never heard anything like this in the digital marketing space. And for many years later, there'd be nothing like this. But the price tag was $60,000 to work with him for a year. 60,000.
60,000.
And
Jeez.
and I'm already like $90,000 in. I am
Yeah.
$60,000 in debt, credit card debt. And I remember calling my partner, and we both at the same time said, "Okay, how do we do this?" So it was an interesting
Nice.
question. It was the question was, "Should we do this? What do you think?" I'm not sure. It wasn't any of that. It was like, "How do we make
Mm.
this happen?" Because we didn't have $60,000, and I'm like deep in credit card debt. Well, between he and I, we had a credit card, a business credit card. We at least the one thing is we were smart enough to like incorporate, and we opened our business credit card, and there was enough available balance there to make one payment for like $5,000. So we asked John, we applied for the program, and we asked John, "Hey, can we go on a payment plan?" And he's like, "Sure." And $5,000 for 12 months, or no, sorry, 10 months. No, no, 12,
Mhm.
12. That's right, 12. And that was $60,000. So for a full year, we're paying 5,000 every month. And but we maxed out the credit card the first month, so we had to work like crazy from what I was earning, from what my partner was earning, to pay down that credit card every month so that we can make the next payment, the next payment, the next payment. And one of the things that the most valuable part of that mentorship program was not the information. The information was great. I remember going
Mhm.
to the office of my mentor and taking a picture. He had actually blueprinted his entire business, and on his wall, a giant wall in his office, and he had these post-its that he like layered over each other like a big canvas, and it was a big giant drawing, flow chart of his entire business and how it worked. I remember taking a picture, but I could everything didn't fit in one picture. I had to take multiple pictures. I think it was like a collage
Oh,
of 6 different pictures that I then came
yeah.
home and pieced together, digitally so that I can have the complete picture. And so he gave us he showed us everything about how he runs his business. We went in deep on some things, but that wasn't even the most valuable thing I got from that because I already had information. All the information I had was enough to catapult me to 6 and even 7 figures. I wasn't doing the work and following through. So what changed is just the fact that we had a call with a mentor who I trusted, who I knew he knew what he was doing and had all this experience success. Well, I worked like mad to make sure that we implemented everything we said we were going to implement on the previous call, and showed up on every call, completing everything we had set out to do and then some, and just had him quickly review. Told him what we're this is on the phone, not even on Zoom. I can't show him anything. I'm just describing it to
Yeah.
him on the phone, and he's like, "That sounds good. Keep going." And most of the time, that's how the calls went. Or sometimes he'd like, "Yeah," a little like he kind of nudge you a little bit, like, "Here, try. Might want to try this instead." Um, very few. I don't think I can't remember a time where he was like, "No, that's completely off track. You should do this instead." No, It was all,
Yeah.
either a thumbs up or, like, a little tweak, to what we're doing, but what that allowed us to do, it gave me the confidence to be more aggressive, to move faster. The doubts faded away, the second guessing faded away. All of that just went away. I was no longer operating on my own. And within 9 months of being in that mentorship program, not only did we hit six figures in our business, we had our first multiple six-figure month around the 9-month mark. So 9 months into
Whoa.
that mentorship program, we made multiple six figures in a month. And by the way, when I say multiple six figures, I mean more than a half a million dollars in a single month. And
Jeez, dude.
it was like crazy money. I never, I ne- entering that program, I never even imagined that would happen, and it
Yeah.
did. And I was like, wow, it was always in me. It was I just needed to have that structure, that accountability, and also like that just the mentor going, yeah, you're on the right track, keep going. Like I was willing to do the work. I was willing to invest in
Yeah.
myself. I was willing to hustle, like all of that. But because of my risk adverse, nature, the second guessing would kind of like sabotage me, and my partner too. Later on, I found out like most people are like this because we're
Yeah.
conditioned to be told, "Are we doing it right? Are we doing it right?" Through our schooling, everything. If you're an engineer, you got to do it right, otherwise the satellite falls out of the sky. And so,
Exactly.
so
Well, what's funny is like I was wondering about that because at some point you guys like probably saw the blueprint that he had and you took all those pictures. And to you, it was probably like, okay, now I got a sense for how this thing can work. You didn't need like the actual blueprint that he had. Clearly, his blueprint likely wouldn't work for you, but it would be an indicator of what you would need to do, almost like a process, a way of thinking, as opposed to this is the
yeah,
way.
it was almost like a security blanket. Now I look at that picture and
Yeah.
it was like we referenced it a little bit, but it wasn't like what our business was completely different. But
Do you still have those
yeah, I do.
pictures?
Yeah, I have that. I have
That's
that
amazing.
graphic. Uh,
You know what's funny is you were telling this story and you were talking about how you got the info pack that had the CDs and the thick book. I've got so many of those. What we should do is create like a Smithsonian for network marketing. Like all those like archaic like artifacts from back in the day. People would not even it blow their
yeah,
mind. Anyway,
thinking about like I'm a visual person, so I was like, how did I learn given the limitations? It was just audio. It was just a CD.
yeah.
And but it worked, and all our coaching calls were not Zoom. It was all audio. All our conference calls, like when you go to like we used to have teleseminars, so you would call in to go to like a coaching session, like a group coaching session, or instead of webinars, it was teleseminars, and it was just like you're on the phone the whole time while you're learning and writing shit down. It was
We're like checking in like Fernie in Los
yeah.
Angeles. And
So
then they
today everything's video and everyone's so spoiled,
yeah.
but yeah, it was all I had to,
Oh man.
really work really hard to use my, visualization powers.
Yeah. So that's a very interesting point because, just having had the opportunity to work with so many folks here in attraction marketing, we actually asked that question, like, what's your preferred method of learning? And I would venture to guess, no, I don't have the actual stat on it. So I don't know what the actual percentage is. It's north of 90. I remember a handful of people who were like, yeah, I'm not really very visual. I need to actually hear it. They're not pure auditory. Most people are very much, in fact, they will describe themselves as kind of monkey see, monkey
Yeah.
do. They want to see it and then physically put it into action in order for it to sink in. It's one thing to consume information, isn't it? And then another thing to go, I understand this. So interesting how hard you must have had to work for that.
I think
The other thing that was
I think I
go
was
ahead.
so dialed in, like in terms of
Mhm.
my motivation, I was like now through the roof. I was just fully all in, fully committed. Yeah,
But that's I think I wanna drill on that, dude, because how if you had to gauge yourself, scale of 1 to 10, 1 total noob, 10 complete pro, when you signed up for the $60,000 mentorship, where were you in terms of skill and experience on that scale?
well, my bank account would say I'm a complete novice and know, jack about
Yeah.
jack. Uh, but I knew that wasn't the case because, one of the things that keeps entrepreneurs going, especially in this space, is if you're growing, if you feel like your things are changing, you're learning things, it's making more sense, you're getting more clarity as to how everything works, and I did make progress. I was making a little bit of money using these skill sets. So there was evidence that it's legitimate. It made complete logical sense from way more than anything I was being asked to do in the traditional space. And so, and then the fact that I was learning and growing, and like I can go to a conference with other people and be schooling them about different strategies and different techniques. So that's what kept me motivated. I felt myself growing, and I knew I was getting
Mhm.
better at this, and I knew it was gonna be only a matter of time. I just didn't know how much time, and that's what kept me going. And I was willing to do insane things, like invest in a $60,000 coaching program and go deep in debt. Um, and what one of the things that was happening at the time is like I had bought property before all of this, so uh I was a homeowner, and I ended up losing that home. I ended up going into foreclosure because I was so in debt, so strapped for cash. Like that was when the financial crisis happened. Everything went upside
Oh, yeah.
down, and so at the same time that everything is going upside down, I'm going into foreclosure. I living at home with my mom, and I'm like basically juggling to figure out what bills to pay first, and what bills can like I put off till later. And it was like a very trying financial time, but it didn't feel that way. Like it was like
How
another
come?
normal human being would have been crushed by that financial situation. Uh,
Yeah,
I
exactly.
was not. It was almost like this is the I don't know, it was a cognitive dissonance thing or whatever, but I compartmentalized that really effectively, where I was like, this is just kind of like a temporary situation. And my where I was headed was clear to me, and what I was
Mhm.
setting off to do was clear to me. And so all that I did the amount of work that I needed to do to manage the financial crisis, if you will. And this is at a time when the world is going through a financial crisis as well.
Yeah.
But it didn't matter. Like I didn't take into account anything that was happening in the economy at all. Like it didn't matter at all. And I had my
Mhm.
own financial crisis, and I was going through foreclosure. My credit is shot, all that stuff. And I was managing it. I was doing what I needed to do, but I wasn't like ultra concerned about it because I knew where I was headed. And obviously, I ended up being right. When you enter into a mentorship program and I, make multiple six figures in a single month, well, that kind of erased everything, right? It offsets all the financial troubles. All that got eventually, paid off. My credit was still shot for the next 10 years after that, but uh, when you're an entrepreneurs would understand what I went through, because I'm not the only person that's ever gone through that. There's many entrepreneurs that have gone through financial crises and end up having so much belief in themselves they make it happen. And
Yeah.
so I just always believed that it was not always. It was a certain point in my journey where I just like I was all in. I knew it was going to happen. I was willing to do whatever it took, just short of selling my kidneys, to to grow
Yeah.
grow the business. And I think it's just that confidence in myself that this is going to happen. It's just a matter of time. And I just wasn't sure when. I never set a deadline. This is a mistake a lot of network marketers do, and then maybe entrepreneurs as well, is they give themselves deadlines. If I'm not successful by this date,
Yeah.
I'm quitting. That's like the stupidest thing you can do, because you don't have the ability to understand what deficits you have that are keeping you from that success. You have to work through whatever skills you need to develop. You have to whatever obstacles your own old personality has that get in the way, however you've sabotaged yourself in the past. You have to work through all that. You just don't know what those things are. You're blind to those things. And so you have to do the work and work through whatever personal, things that you have, and as well as develop skill sets. And some people learn faster, some people learn slower. Some people have more personal crap that gets in their way, some people have less. Some people come in with skills from another profession that are very useful, some don't. And so setting yourself a giving yourself a deadline is dumb, because you just don't know how long it's going to take for you to work through those things. But if you don't stop, eventually you get there.
Yeah.
And as long as you don't quit, as long as you're fully committed, it's gonna work. It's just like, I guess, anything else that you commit to.
You know, it's funny. I just recently we were talking about this kind of offline. I was talking to the mentor team, the team of mentors we have here at Traction Marketing, and we were kind of coaching around some skill development for our students. And one thing we were talking about was the exact thing you're talking about is the calibration of expectation. Because a lot of times we come in thinking, "Oh man, I have a lot of confidence in myself, or I have a lot of enthusiasm. I want it really bad." All these little catchphrases, and it's as if we're saying that to prove it to the outside world or convince ourselves, but we still haven't figured that part out. And the way, you know, like where the rubber meets the road and where the actual truth sort of unfilters itself is when you hit a certain time gate. Could be a deadline you set for yourself or an expected time gate, and it doesn't match up. How you respond to that disappointment's everything. Because like what I heard from you is, hey, I didn't really set one, so it wasn't even in play. Now some people will say, hey, aren't you supposed to smartify your goal, like set a very time sensitive, time specific thing? I personally think there's some value to that, so long as you have an attitude of, this is my target. If we miss it, totally cool. Because how many times have you gone to like an archery range or thrown darts and you miss the bullseye? Everybody wants to hit the bullseye because that's where the most value is, but you don't miss the bullseye and go, I suck at this. You go, okay, cool. Wait, I'm going to modify the throw or the shot, left or right, up, down, to try to hit that sucker. And that's, I think, a lot of times where, when you're talking about a financial target, people are so weird about their money. They're like, oh, if I don't make money, I'm going to die. And the answer is no, you're not, man. Like, what's the worst thing that could happen? You invest 60,000 in the mentorship. It goes flat. You don't get any money back. Probably not good, right? You're probably going to be like in severe financial squeeze. It sounded like you were already kind of there. What's the worst that's going to happen? Are you going to starve to death? No. What's the next worst thing than that? Going homeless? Are you going to end up in a box under a bridge? Probably not. Based on your skill set, you could find a job tomorrow. The problem is, most people are like, I wouldn't risk that because I don't want to have to go get a job bagging groceries. My ego couldn't handle that. I wouldn't want my mom, dad, aunt, uncle, next door neighbor to know I did that. My business failed. Whereas on the other side, it's like, dude, the victory, the glory on the backside of that risk, as you like to call it, is so much
Mhm.
sweeter. Like, you may as well go all in on yourself. Half the people watching this will root. They'll stand on their feet and scream and yell for their favorite sports team, but they won't cheer that hard for themselves. And it's like, you have the capacity, and you proved it, to endure some pretty severe pressure, financial pressure, social pressure. I'm guessing your mom was so thrilled to have her grown baby boy live, moving back into her house
Well,
with her.
she
I
actually
can't
was, but
imagine.
that's I
Oh
was.
yeah. Okay. Well, maybe. Anyway, so I mean, really think about that for a second. What would you tell somebody who's in network marketing? They've been in it for a measure of time. Let's just say enough time for them to go, okay, I'm doing this. Not maybe they didn't just start today. Somebody who's had a measure of time and they're not hitting it. They're just like, dude, I'm not getting there. It's not paying off financially or otherwise. Talk us through that.
Well, I mean, what I did in finding and seeking mentorship was not something that was strategic. I just, something innate in me thought that this would be really helpful, because I've been trying to go at it alone for a long time, just taking in information, processing it. Most people think that it's information they lack. No, if uh, can reflect upon it now and understand clearly what the reason that worked, but also the reason I was successful at MIT and graduated in that environment. And I have a
Mhm.
martial arts background as well. So what's the reason I was able to become a black belt and a martial arts, champion? Uh, it was the commonality. Now that I reflect back on it, is I was part of a mentorship program. I had a mentor who had authority, who I trusted, and they were showing me what I needed to do. And in every single one of those situations, there was struggle, there was trials and tribulations. What makes, you know, MIT what it is, like what makes this the most prestigious, technical institution, college in the world, uh, to the point where people are willing to spend $500,000 to attend there for 4 years. Well, what makes that different because they use the exact same books as other state schools and community colleges. They use the same books. Physics is physics, math is math. It doesn't change depending on what school do you go to. They don't reveal secrets
Mhm.
that are somehow hidden. No, they one it's a they put on the pressure. So you're expected to go faster and learn more than anywhere else. But they also have a support system where not only is it lectures, they have smaller group studies where it's like, a lecture for 100 people. Then they have these other, smaller classes with a different professor on that same topic for like 20 people. And then they have small study groups. And then they do one on one. And then they have office hours. And then there's a support structure outside of that. There's mental health resources. There's a hospital in case you fall and break something. They patch you up and go back to school. It's just this layer upon. If you're dyslexic, they'll read to you. Like what? Like
That's crazy,
I
man.
had a friend who was dyslexic at MIT. He literally couldn't read anything without it either turning upside down and going backwards. And so he had to, for every single assignment and for every exam he ever took at MIT, somebody had to read it to him, and then he had to like write the responses when he took a test. And they couldn't tell him that if he wrote something backwards because his dyslexia was so severe. Not only would he read backwards or upside down, he would write backwards or upside down.
Oh,
And
jeez.
so the guy had to hint to him that, hey, something's not right without telling him, hey, that's upside down or that's backwards.
Yeah.
Because it was there were certain protocols. But anyway, he was willing to go through all of that, and MIT was paying somebody to read to him every single night for his assignments to help him complete all his assignments, and read back to him what he wrote down. And so the way he knew he didn't write something down correctly was when the guy couldn't read it. When he started reading and then he was on stop, and that would trigger his brain that, oh, I wrote something backwards, and all of a sudden he could see it backwards. And so now he's like,
Mhm.
oh shoot, like so it's anyway. That's how, in terms of resources that you have at that type of school, they put on the pressure, but then they don't let you fall out. And I remember many times, my advisor, who was the dean at MIT, would just call me in because he was concerned because he saw my grade slipping. So he called me in. Is like, hey, what resource can we help you with? Are you doing all right? Like they cared a lot, and that was really cool. And so that's the reason I believe people at MIT do so well is they put on the pressure unlike any other school, but they also have the resources to catch you if you need support. And one other thing is they believe in you 100%. They truly believe that they're the elite institution in the world, and they ingrain that in you. You are the best in the world at what you're doing. You're going to come out of here and like change the world in some way over and over again. That environment, you're brainwashed to believe that you're the best in the world. And the
Mhm.
same thing happened when I trained martial arts. uh, the pressure is on, the training is intense. At the same time, you're led to believe that you're nothing but the best. That you're gonna there's no excuse for failure. There's no excuse for giving up. And I realized that I thrived in those environments. And so it was no coincidence that I thrived in this environment with this mentorship program with my mentor. And I think there's a
Mhm.
lot of people that are like that, that they thrive in environments that support them. So, I mean, there's the outliers. There's the people that kind of like will it into existence. There's the Elon Musk or Mark Zuckerbergs of the world that kind of like create enormous success out of nothing without anyone's help. They just kind of figure it out, and more power to them. But those are outliers. I think most people that are destined to that really want it, if they're just put in the right environment with the right mentor, they can thrive. And that doesn't mean everybody thrives. There's people that aren't willing to do the work. There's people that drop
Yeah.
out of MIT. There's people that dropped out of the mentorship program I was in. There's people that quit my martial arts program that I was in. And so there's still something about like how bad do you want it type of, conversation that needs to be there. There needs to be a full on commitment, but the commitment combined with being in the right environment and with getting that feedback that allows that self-doubt and the second guessing to fade away, those are the people that I'm most proud of that we help here at Attraction Marketing. that couldn't figure it out on their own. And I think that's the majority of people that create success.
Yeah,
And I
I
forgot what your
agree with that.
initial question was, but that's where I went.
No, it was beautiful, man. The whole thing is, like I like to have this ability to kind of get inside, under the hood, inside the wiring of guys like you who have obviously walked the path and done so in a way where you've interfaced with the challenges most people do, because like network marketing is awesome. It's a great industry. The thing that's beautiful about it is it doesn't require any kind of background. You don't have to be a born and and raised entrepreneur. I know growing up I was never an entrepreneur. I just never was. My stepmom was. I always looked up to her. She was amazing. But outside of that, I wasn't really raised in a business mind frame type of
Yeah,
place. I
neither
didn't
was
go to
I.
school to get a business degree. It wasn't like that. And the cool part about that is you can take somebody with zero business experience. You don't even have to be very good at math, numbers, money, all that kind of stuff, and create a very substantial income. But more importantly than just the income, it's a lifestyle, right? You have the ability to not be tied to the kind of golden handcuffs of a corporate life. You don't have to commit yourself in a way that's unpleasant or unsavory. You can do something that you genuinely care about and serve cool people doing it. And that's the beautiful part. And the reason I like asking questions about that of you is that you had all these different experiences, and they kind of come down to and distill down to some of the really key characteristics of what genuinely creates those results that people crave. It's not being super smart, educated, all those things. It's being hungry enough, committed enough, and coachable enough, meaning you got to have that humility to be willing to make mistakes, to be willing to, bare the soul, so to speak, and show the vulnerability of unknowing or whatever, and then be willing to receive the feedback from your
Yeah.
mentors.
Hey, my friends, hope you're enjoying the show. I wanted to take a quick minute and invite you to something very cool. If you are tired of following up with dead leads, if you're tired of all the spammy, scammy conversations online, if you're tired of chasing down friends, family, and people you work with just to get somebody interested in your business, and you would actually like to talk to highly qualified people who have a genuine interest in doing business with you, then we have our all digital 5-day boot camp that teaches you all the things that we do, and it will help you get 3 to 7 new customers each and every single week. That's our personal guarantee to you. If you want to take advantage of that, click the link directly below this, or you can go to attractionmarketing.com/YouTube. Now, let's get you back to the show.
And that's the thing I love. And on the concept of mentorship, this is one of my favorite parts of kind of like your hero journey story, if I may call it that, is you mentioned magnetic sponsoring and two very critical names there, authors, co-founders of, and that was Mike Dillard and Tim Irway. They weren't just mentors on a recorded disc for you. That actually transformed into something even more powerful. Talk us through that.
Yeah, well, because they were, the mentorship program I entered was not with them, but there was a certain point as they were, they had started a social network called the Magnetic Sponsoring Community. Eventually became known as Better Networker. It's not around anymore, but in that community is where, as I was learning and as I was growing, especially as part of this mentorship program that I was in, I started contributing in that community. And it was basically a social network for home business owners and affiliate marketers and network marketers and everything in between. And I started just sharing what I was learning. And I was in the forum, back then, like the equivalent of a Facebook group was a forum, and I was contributing there, answering people's questions. I was publishing content that was getting, viewed and read by a lot of people. And I became very prolific in that network. And that's where they started to take notice of me and started reaching out. And eventually I became a moderator on that community. For a short time, I was a partner. I partnered with them, like in the running of that community. And because of the value that I demonstrated, that I was willing to give back, that they wanted to leverage me for my talents and my skills as I was, coming up. And so that's where the relationship started. And initially, I think Mike saw me as a competitor potentially. uh he saw like my content online, and it was very similar to his. And but one of the things I made clear in some of my content is like, hey, everything I understand and know about this skill set applied to network marketing, I first learned from Mike Dillard and Tim Irway. And they really appreciated that I was giving them full credit for what I was learning. I was like, I gave them all the credit and I didn't hide who I learned from. I didn't pretend that I invented any of it. And so that opened them up. They saw my talent and my skill, but they were like, is this guy trying to like, compete with us? And no, I was wanting to support them. And that's what they realized. And that's what kind of like encouraged them to kind of take me under their wing as well and work on a number of projects with them, running that social network. Um, Eventually what ended up happening is I ended up for some, I forget the reason I did it, but I organized a workshop, an in-person workshop. And back then it was all online. There was no in-person meetings for the generic training space. And so I ended up starting a training company, and I organized a workshop for a few of our students. And there was an appetite for people to want to like get together with other folks to collaborate and learn and work on some of the attraction marketing stuff that we were doing. And when I organized this workshop and announced it, I started getting uh, both people who wanted to attend, but also some of these people that have became successful in the direct sales and network marketing space online wanted to come train. Hey, can I come to your event and come train? And I was like, sure, come on, like more the merrier. And
Yeah.
very quickly, what it ended up becoming is it ended up becoming this big event. And all of a sudden, we have like 15 speakers, including Mike Dillard and Tim Irway. Todd Falcone was a speaker there as well, and a bunch of other. Mark Hoverson was a speaker there as well. And before we knew it, like from from the idea to the actual event happening live, it was like a 2 month span. So we had 2 months to promote this event. We ended up selling 1,000 tickets for an event in Las Vegas. And I remember at the time,
Jeez.
going to Vegas to tour the Venetian and with their salesperson and the ballroom and all that stuff, and then having to sign an agreement that basically says, hey, if this event doesn't happen, if you kind of try to back out or pull out, you owe us about $250,000. And
Oh,
I was like signing an agreement with this $1 billion company uh, to have an event that was imaginary, like it never been done before. No one ever done anything like that before in the generic space. And then we started promoting it, and 2 months to promote from the beginning of the promotion to people showing up in person. We pulled that event off. We were learning trial by fire. We didn't know anything about putting on events. We just learned as we went. We had some great vendors that guided us because they clearly knew we didn't know what we were doing, and so they did their best to guide us because obviously they want our event to be successful because it's helps them business wise. And we pulled it off, and it was the No Excuses Summit. That was the event, and
the
and
legendary
that
no
that turned
excuse.
into its own company. And so we
Dude, just for a second, I have to pause on this. 2 months? Look, we're not putting on a birthday party at your house. Like, I think most people, if you're gonna have a birthday party at your house, and I said, "You're gonna do it in 2 months," they'd be like, "I can't do that. I need more time." You're talking about having people fly from literally around the world, if not from other opposite sides of the country, into Vegas. So they gotta book a hotel, get an airfare, buy a ticket to the event. You gotta arrange all of the speakers, their airfare and all that kind of stuff in 2 months. That's
Yep.
insane. Like
Yeah,
that's a pretty
this
awesome
is like
accomplishment.
the blessing of being completely ignorant as to what it takes to do certain things. We just figured it out, willed it into existence,
Yeah.
made it happen because we'd never done anything like that before. We didn't know anything. Like the only person that was guiding us on what to do and helped us a lot was Sean Royster, who's head of Royster Productions. I don't know if they're still around, but he puts on a lot of events for a lot of big companies, and he was kind of like our mentor in a way, guiding us on what we needed to do. He'd handle a lot of the negotiations. Um, yeah, we just didn't know what we were doing, but we did it anyway. And there were some things that didn't turn out right, some things that were very costly, but overall it was a success. And we kept doing that event every single year for 10 years. And that became its own business. And all of the magnetic like obviously Mike and Tim. They came, some of their most successful students would come train. Some of the most successful students of their students, eventually became speakers and we came to train, everyone like Ray Higdon was actually an attendee at that first event, and he ended up being a speaker at the following event. And he's a student of Mike and Tim, and also a student of one of their students. And so it's kind of like this as the knowledge started to propagate, as people started succeeding with what was being taught in this community, it just started to expand. And so um so the social network, that was an amazing opportunity for me to demonstrate to an audience what I can do, and you had to earn it. It was just like it was it was set up similar to actually how TikTok is set up, where if your content got traction, Mike or whoever was administering the network would promote your content, like would show it to more people, and then if more people
Cool.
liked it, those people liked it, they'd show it to more people, and so that's kind of like how TikTok works today. And
Yeah.
so that was a great opportunity. And then now we had the event, so we're promoting the event on that social platform, and that event kept going. And in 2014, so at that point after that event, like everything's going pretty great. Like we have this company. Uh, at that point, I have one of the largest residual income checks in my company. So that's going well. Obviously, I have a great working relationship with Mike and Tim. We start working on with Tim specifically. At this point, Mike's starting to step back and start taking an interest in other things. And working with Tim, we started we started holding these smaller workshops. Out of those events, we started promoting these smaller workshops that were kind of like mini mentorship programs over a weekend. And
Mhm.
people would buy up and attend those workshops for like $5,000 to $10,000 a pop, just to attend one workshop with us. And we get really hands on, and there was a lot of implementation. And we did that for about 3 or 4 years after the initial no excuses. Continue to do those. So we do the no excuses, and then we hold the smaller workshops for more intimate experience. And that's where we started like fleshing out what a year long mentorship program would look like, and going back
Mhm.
to what happened with me with my mentor. And and so we figured it out, and around that time is when Mike Dillard wanted out of the network marketing space altogether. He had fully committed to another project outside of network marketing, and he wanted out of magnetic sponsoring. So Tim ended up buying him out of the magnetic sponsoring company, and then Tim invited me to partner with him. He said, "Would you like to partner? Basically, take Mike's place and be the
Wow.
face of this company." And I was,
What did you that had to have been one of those, like, "You gotta be kidding me"
it
moments
it
for
it,
you.
it
Like,
was it was, but it was also a dream come true, because when I found magnetic sponsoring, and pretty soon after I started doing it, and like doing attraction marketing and implementing everything, I was like, I I would love to one day have a company like this, like have a company like magnetic sponsoring. And so I,
that's
I
cool.
actually had the thought of that happening crossed my mind, not magnetic sponsoring itself, but something like it. And so I always wanted to create that. And so when I was offered to become a partner, I was like, wow, this is like basically this is what I wanted. This is my dream now actually happening. And so, yeah, I ended up merging my business, the event business, the training company, and all the mentorship programs with the magnetic sponsoring company. And ultimately, we rebranded a couple of times, but now we're known as attractionmarketing.com. So I'm a partner and owner of the exact organization that I was a student in when I first got started as just a regular person. I'm credited as a co-founder of Attraction Marketing, because obviously I was one of the partners when we became attractionmarketing.com. But
Mm.
if we're going back to our history, 2005, the original founder was Mike Dillard, and then Tim came to partner with him pretty soon after that. uh because Tim had been building network marketing businesses online since the year 2000. So that's 25 years ago as of this recording. So 25
Man,
years of proof that you can build a network marketing business online. Yet people, I don't think people appreciate like how far back that is and how old school things were still happening at that time. And but and then
Yeah.
uh,
The dial-up
that's
days.
exactly, and then to have 5 years later have a company that launches that introduces this information that has been like, I guess, fermenting to a fine wine
Yeah.
for 5 years in the underground. There was an underground world of network marketers that were building online in these leveraged ways, and it took 5 years for that to become public through an intentional act by launching magnetic sponsoring, and then it's taken another 20 years for it to be kind of sort of accepted in the network marketing space. But still, there's so many people that are so negative about building online. They don't want to go online, and
Resistant.
including my original, company, they're still fighting the future 25 years later. And so
Crazy.
that's just the state it's in. But what's undeniable is the success stories that we've created. And so when I partner with Tim Roway, that's when not only the success of the company took off, but also the successes of our students. Like we've had countless and countless 6, 7 figure, 8 figure students that have built businesses out of the information that we initially taught them and mentored them through. I think between myself, Mike, and Tim, we have probably well over 4,000 6 or 7 or 8 figure earners that have built businesses in and outside of network marketing. So the great thing about these skills that we teach our students and that I learned is that, and I have applied them to other industries, other businesses, small businesses,
Right.
other online businesses that have nothing to do with network marketing. These skill sets transcend network marketing, and so many of our students, realize that network marketing is not their passion, but they know what it is their passion, and they use these marketing skill sets to grow that company and that business. We have students that have started their own direct sales or network marketing companies. Ray Higdon is, just launched his own network marketing company. Jonathan Budd, who's a student of Mike and Tim, he has his own direct sales company as well. And I think they just a year ago they crossed the $1 billion mark in that company. So that's like the
Man.
ripple effect that this organization has had. Uh, with all, it's not just about helping somebody to get 6 figures or multiple 6 or 7 figures in their company, but to be able to actually create companies themselves, whether that's in network marketing or outside network marketing. And I'm most proud of the fact that people who learn these skills will never starve ever. Like no matter what happens
Yeah.
to them, their company shuts down, whatever. Like at worst case scenario, our students can go get jobs at a marketing firm and outperform and outclass anybody at that marketing firm that went to Harvard to get their marketing degree.
That's wild, man. You know, what's funny is I remember you were talking about no excuses. I remember being in the speaking industry, being a speaker myself, emceeing events and things like that, and seeing clips that people would share. Sometimes it was you guys sharing them or just other people. I followed all those names you talked about, Hoverson, um, Jonathan Budd, all those guys, obviously Mike Dillard. And I knew of you guys. And then I remember seeing, because I was a big, student of Gary Vaynerchuk, you guys had Vaynerchuk on your stage. I'm like, this place,
Yeah.
man, the No Excuses Summit, that's the place to be. Then had the opportunity to actually experience the event for myself. And what's crazy, and I'm sure you know this, but you're sort of like humble enough to just let this go. There are so many names that people have never heard of who were attendees at that event, meaning they had nothing, and a lot of them literally had zero business. They hadn't even made their first sale yet. Some of them had just cracked the seal on their new network marketing company, attended one of those new no excuses events, and now these are high six, some of them 7 figure earners now. People that, like, if we said their name, the vast majority of our listeners and viewers wouldn't even know that. They wouldn't be like, oh yeah, that's a brand name that I immediately get, a household name. So many of those, probably more of those, frankly, than the big guru names, right? And that's the part that I think super exciting. You guys, and you, Fern, specifically, have sort of become like, the 6, 7, 8 figure earner whisperer, so to speak. So let's talk about that. I want to talk about kind of like how you have helped create Even for those folks who haven't quite, and you're referring to your old company, they haven't quite bought into it yet. They're still hanging on to the old school. The one thing I've never heard come out of your mouth or anybody here, part of our team and our family at Attraction Marketing, is, oh, old school way is bad. It's like, hey, if you want to continue doing that, great. If you want to learn a different way that it could actually help, even with your old school stuff, we'd love to teach you if you're open to it. Talk to me about sort of your approach to developing those 6, 7, even 8-figure earners. Because let's be frank, they're out there, and they're have been directly touched by they got, like the fingerprints of your knowledge all over them. Talk a little bit about your approach to that.
Yeah. So when I partnered with Tim and we became attractionmarketing.com, we set out to create a mentorship, not just mentorship programs where there was like levels of ascension and skill development. And it was designed after the mentorship program that I went through with my mentor, combined with what worked from when I was at MIT, my martial arts experience, and what we were learning in real time with our students during those workshops. And we knew that this was going to be a mentorship company, because we knew that there would be way more success stories, way more students having success if we had an opportunity to work with them in a small group, one-on-one, in a structured curriculum with accountability, etc. And that's what we launched in 2014. Now, since then, there's been a lot of other, Me Too copy companies that have either modeled their business after us or completely copied their model after us. But we were the first. But not only are we the first, we by far have more success stories than any of those companies, and and it's not even close. And I think the reason is because we heavily invest in not just the marketing side of getting people in, but we heavily invest in the fulfillment and the mentoring of our team that supports our students, heavily invest in ourselves to become better coaches. So we've invested at this point well over $1 million to become not just good at coaching, great at coaching, and figuring out different ways of breaking through to people uh, that just maybe learn differently or whatever. Now, we never take on the responsibility of success on behalf of our students. It's their business. They're the CEO. They make the decisions. They're responsible. But if we can figure out what different ways of communicating the same information in a different way that might break through to another person, then that's a success. So that's the art of coaching. The art of coaching is finding different ways of breaking through to a student or a client where they finally get it, whereas the same delivery might not work for another person. And so
Mhm.
it's about kind of figuring that out, and there's different approaches, and I learned all those different approaches from all of the various different mentors and how they mentored me, and then also the people we intentionally hired to help us train our students. And so that's a foundation of like how seriously we take this, and we're in it for the long run. It's not a short term like cash grab. That's the reason we're the longest running mentoring program in the network marketing space, especially when it comes to teaching strategies for building online. And so that's number one. And I think that in terms of what our approach is, or our approach is very systemic. In the beginning, it's very linear. Like there's a linear curriculum when we teach skill sets in a sequence where they can implement and get results quickly, especially today. But it doesn't, if someone getting results doesn't mean they're at 6 figures yet. That's going to take time. It could take, we've had students that have hit 6 figures in like 6 months. We've had students that don't hit 6 figures for like 8 years, and like everything in between. Again, every person's different. But as long as we're in the beginning, it's very linear where we're teaching skills, one skill on top of another, on top of another. And once we set a foundation, then we have in our higher level program the ability to adapt to our students depending on where they're at, and also depending on their personality. Whether you're an introvert, extrovert, love social media, hate social media, somewhere in between. Whether you're wanting to automate, or or are you willing to spend money on advertising, or you prefer the free option. There's no perfect strategy. There's always a pro and con. And then there's different paths people can take to success. Some people can fully automate from the very beginning and eventually start building systems that allow them to grow to a large organization. Some people don't automate in the beginning, and they focus more on systems for creating duplication and teaching people the free stuff, the free strategies that are more labor intensive. And there's everything in between. So we've created these roadmaps and these paths to success that people could take, and also how, if somebody's a leader, if they already have an existing team, we're going to coach that person differently than somebody who's brand new, who's just getting started in their first week in network marketing. So I think we're the only mentoring program that has curriculum that can adapt to these different types of people, different levels of leadership and success. And even leaders are very diverse. Some leaders
Hmm.
are they might as well be brand new because they've built completely offline, so they're learning a whole new skill set. Some leaders come in knowing a little bit about how to build on social media. Some leaders have been in the digital marketing space for a little bit, and they know a lot more than others. And so, even if we can't even treat every leader the same, we have to adapt to what's happening there. And this is a credit to our team. Our team, what we've been able to do, unlike anyone else in the space, our most successful students become our faculty. So they become our mentors and our facilitators, and they become our trainers. And so our curriculum is delivered not just by me, but it's delivered by all these different people who are specialists in all these different ways of building a network marketing business. We have TikTok specialists, we have
Hmm.
specialists for Instagram, for Reels, we have specialists for Facebook, we have specialists for automation, for running ads, funnels, and building duplication systems. So this is like, there's no way I can be an expert in all those things and be the main trainer for everything. Some companies try to do that where it's like it's one guy or one girl that is the end all be all, and that's ridiculous because there's no way they can be that brilliant. Like there's no way any human being could know everything about everything and be in a position to mentor all these different types of people. But we can, because we have our faculty is composed of all these different specialists that have built their businesses all these different ways at all varying levels of skill, and we able to leverage them, and they're happy to come back and train. um, and we've struck in deals with former students that have become exclusively internal to us, like they don't build network marketing businesses anymore. They're part of our team. We strike deals where some people are kind of like in between, they're actively building in the network marketing business, but they also do mentoring within our programs. And then we have, we struck in deals with people that are brand partners that are partnered with us on a public way, because they fully endorse what we're doing, and we have some big players in the network marketing space, seven-figure earners, that are publicly fully endorsing what we're doing, and I think that's awesome that they not only are doing that, but they also are part of that mentoring team for mentoring and coaching leaders on the back end as well.
Hey, what's up, my friends? Hope you enjoyed that show. Hope you got some great value from the content, and hope you enjoyed our conversation with our speaker. I want to just remind you, if you are ready to stop chasing people and start having people chase you, if you're tired of all the spammy, scammy conversations all the time, and you'd rather have 3 to 7 highly qualified customers each and every single week coming to you in your inbox, you are invited to grab our free 5-day digital boot camp that will teach you how to attract the right kind of people, create the kind of influence so you can start enrolling those 3 to 7 customers each and every single week. And you can get that at the link below, or you can go to attractionmarketing.com/YouTube. That's attractionmarketing.com/YouTube. And if you got some great value from the show and you want to stay in touch, make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, and of course, share this message far and wide. There will be much more conversations just like this one coming at you very soon. Look forward to having you with us here with the Attraction Marketing Show.